Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari Yashodhanandana Braja Janaranjana. Can you pass me the book? Yashodhanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanacharin Yamunatira Vanacharin Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari Yashodanandana Bhaja Janaranjana Yashodhanandana Bhaja Janaranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari Yashodanandana Bhaja Dhanaranjana Yashodanandana Bhaja Dhanaranjana Jamunatira Bhanachari Jamunatira Bhanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopidana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopidana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopidana Vallabha Girivardhari Jayam Vishnu Par Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Ashtothara Shatashishimad is Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jayam Vishnu Par Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Ashtothara Shatashishimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrind Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shiradvaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopina Shamakun Radhakun Kivi Gopadan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Mathura Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Gangamai Yamunamai Ki Jai Tulasi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Nitai Gaura Premanande All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru, Shri Gauranga, all glories to Shri Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 17, text, which text is it? 26. Iyang cha bhumir bhagavatam nyasitoru bharan sati Srimadbhis tat pada nyasaihi sarvata krita kautuka yang cha bhumi bhagavata nyasitoru bharasati Srimadbhistatpadanyasai sarvata krita kautuka iyang cha bhurmi bhagavata nyasitoru bharasati Srimadbhistatpadanyasai padanyasai sarvatah krita kautuka iyang cha bhurmir bhagavata nyasito rubharasati Srimadbhistat padanyasai sarvatah krita kautuka.
Yang cha bhumir bhagavata Nyasi toru barasati Shrimad Bhistat Padanyasai Sarvata Krita Kotuka Yam cha bhumir bhagavata Ayasi toru barasati Srimad Bhistat Padanyasa Sarva Pata Krita Kautuka
Iyam jabumir bhagavata Naya sitoru barasati Srimad Bhistat Padanasai Sarvata Kritakotuka
Iyam cha bhumir bhagavata
Yam cha bhumir bhagavata
Nyasitaru barasati
Nyasitoru barasati
Srimad Bhistat padanyasai
Sarvabhistatpadanyasai
Sarvatah krita kautuka
Sarvata Krita Kautuka Yang Jabumir Bhagavata Nyasitoru Barasati Srimadvistatpadanyasai Sarvata Krita Kautuka
इयं च भूमि भगवता न्यासितोरुभरासति श्रीमद्भिस्तत्पदन्यासै सर्वतः कृतकौतुका
Yam cha bhumir bhagavata Nyasito Bharati Srimad Bhistat Nyasai Sarvata Krita Kautuka
Yam cha bhumir bhagavata Nyasito para Srimad Bhistatpadanyasai Sarvata Kritakautuka
Iyam cha bhumir bhagavata Nyasitoru bharasati Srimad Padanyasai Sarvata Krita Kautuka
Yam cha bhumir bhagavata Vyasitoru barasati Srimad Bhistatpadanyasai Sarvata Krita Kota Kotaka.
Iyam cha bhumir bhagavata niyasito ruparasati Srimad Bhistat Paranyasai Sarvata Krita Kautuka.
Is that all? Okay. Young, this, cha, and bhumihi, surface of the earth, Bhagavata, by the personality of Godhead, Nyasita, being performed personally as well as by others. Uru, great. Bara, burden. Sati, being so done. Srimad Bihi, by the all auspicious. Tat, that. Padanyasyahi, footprints. Sarvataha, all around. Krita, done. Kautuka, good fortune. Translation. There's no purport, so we'll read another text after this. The burden of the earth was certainly diminished by the personality of Godhead and by others as well. When he was present as an incarnation, all good was performed because of his auspicious footprints. So text 27. Shotyashu kala sadvi durbhagyevo jita sati abhramanya nripavyaja shudra bhokshanti mamiti. Now she, the chaste one, being unfortunately forsaken by the personality of Godhead, laments her future with tears in her eyes. For now she is being ruled and enjoyed by lower class men who pose as rulers. So who's speaking? Anyone know? Yeah, it seems it's Maharaj Yudhishthira, but okay. I think it's not Maharaj Yudhishthira, but it might be Suta Goswami. Okay. Yeah, I know, but it's speaking about it, this whole pastime in third person. But anyways, the Kshatriya, or the man who is qualified to protect the sufferers, is meant to rule the state. Untrained lower class men, or men without ambition to protect the sufferers, cannot be placed on the seat of an administrator. Unfortunately, in the age of Kali, the lower class men, without training, occupy the post of a ruler by strength of popular votes. And instead of protecting the sufferers, such men create a situation quite intolerable for everyone. Such rulers illegally gratify themselves at the cost of all comforts of the citizens, and thus the chaste Mother Earth cries to see the pitiable condition of her sons, both men and animal. That is the future of the world in the age of Kali, when irreligiosity prevails most prominently, And in the absence of a suitable king to curb irreligious tendencies, educating the people systematically in the teaching of Srimad Bhagavatam will clear up the hazy atmosphere of corruption, bribery, blackmail, etc. Om Jnanatamrandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patidanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Mukam Karti Vachalam Pangum Yagate Grim Kripatanaham Bande Shuram Dinataranam. So, here we are reading, or how the continuation of this whole pastime of Maharaj Parikshit receiving the age of Kali, and in this chapter actually punishing and rewarding the age of Kali, which are seems like two contradictory things that he's going to be doing in this chapter. So Srimad Bhagavatam, by systematically educating people in the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada is making the point that the hazy atmosphere or corruption, bribery, blackmail, etc., which is found very much rampant in the age of Kali, can be cleared up. So we have a duty to give this Srimad Bhagavatam. Prabhupada said every gentleman should have a set of Srimad Bhagavatam in their home, because Bhagavatam is non-different from Krishna, non-different from the pure devotee of Krishna also. Just by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam daily, nasta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhagavati where's it bhagavati? Where's it? Naishtiki. Okay, there you go. So all that which is inauspicious in the heart is destroyed. And then naturally, the good qualities of the soul can become manifested. But for as long as we remain in ignorance, we'll think so many things are for our self-interest. And the qualities of the soul, which are meant to be used for serving Krishna, are instead used to serve our own selfish desires or selfish goals. Or how do you define selfish goals? Those goals which have nothing to do with Krishna, those are selfish goals. So for as long as we do that, we'll remain in ignorance. And therefore, all our actions will be considered selfish from that perspective, even if it's seemingly good. There's so many seemingly good activities, but because they have nothing to do with Krishna or the reality, which is based on the spiritual understanding that we're all servants of Krishna and we're all meant to please him, then even these seemingly good activities, they're actually detrimental to everyone's real self-interest. And because such leaders don't have any knowledge of God, as is stated in the previous class, that this is a godless civilization, then naturally, then such leaders have all these bad qualities. Right? There's a nice verse. Yasyaste bhaktir bhagavata. What is it? Bhagavatya kinchana sarvai ganai sata. What is it? Tatra samasate suraha Harava bhaktasya kuto mahaguna manoratena. I can't remember the last one. Manoratena. Anyways. Dhavato bahi. Okay. So, unless one is serving Krishna, or if one serves Krishna, has nothing to do with this world, which is full of all these selfish ideas and ideas for exploiting others and satisfying our senses at the cost of others. Unless we become connected to Him, or if we do become connected to Him, that's the only way our natural good qualities can come out. And those who don't, they have no such good qualities, even if seemingly they're doing good. Because that which disconnects the soul from reality, it's ultimately harmful for the soul. So it behooves us to connect people and connect ourselves to Krishna and make it very clear that all our actions, all our activities, whether they be with our senses, our mind, our intelligence, they should be with this in mind, with keeping Krishna very clearly in the center. Or else, it'll just become an atmosphere for corruption, exploitation, etc. And this can happen on a molecular level or on a grander scale. But the principle is the same, is that there's a lack of God consciousness, no Krishna involved. So, Prabhupada makes the point now, understanding this principle, then naturally even a Kshatriya or the king should have knowledge of this. And he has this propensity to protect sufferers, or those who are going to be exploited by others if they don't have someone to protect. And therefore, the Kshatriya would protect. All his citizens were considered his children. And the animals as well were considered also prajas. So a king, it's supposed to be heroic. It's supposed to have this courageous qualities. And we're seeing here in this pastime very soon how King Parikshit was actually a qualified king. He immediately is going to chastise the miscreants who is unnecessarily trying to exploit the earth. And is actually breaking the religious principles as well by attacking these 4 pillars of religion. Anyone remember the 4 pillars of religion? It was mentioned yesterday.
Truthfulness,
mercy, cleanliness, and austerity. So these principles are being attacked by the age of Kali. Age of Kali is there to facilitate actually the enviousness of people. That's one reason the age of Kali is there. Actually, for everything that Krishna does, even we have that our experience of that. Whatever we do is never just one reason behind that action. So the age of Kali is facilitating the enviousness of the living entities, but is also facilitating an opportunity for those who take shelter of the Yuga Dharma, especially this special Kali Yuga, which only happens once in a day of Brahma. Out of the 1,000 cycles, us the opportunity to take advantage of Srimad Bhagavatam to enact a golden age for the next 10,000 years. There will be a golden age. If we systematically propagate the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam, this is the way it's possible. If not, then if we give up this duty of giving people Krishna, then what hope will they have? It would simply, we can see that there are no qualified rulers anywhere in society actually right now. So we have our work cut out for us. Because until we see that there's godly persons in charge and who want to rule the society and run the government by under God's will, even though in the dollar says, in God we trust, we don't trust him at all. I mean, if we trusted him, what is a symptom of trust? How do you know you trust someone? Right? Well, how do you know how do I know this person trusts that person? How can I see if a government trusts society?
He follows what they say.
Yeah, they follow what he says. If you don't trust him, you won't follow what he says. So, because we don't actually trust God, therefore we don't care what the scriptures have to say. So, Sharanagati, surrender. Anukulyasya sankalpa is my vow to accept those principles which are favorable for surrendering to Krishna. So, the government has failed to do this because they have actually no faith in God. They have no knowledge of God either. But if we have knowledge of God, then real faith can be born. And then we will naturally want to follow what he says in our life. But we have to apply that in our own life, in every regard, and try to do things to the best we can according to Krishna's will, according to the scriptures. This is the foundation of our life. We have to impress that in our consciousness because we're so accustomed to living against God's will that it's easy for us to speculate and imagine things which is not necessarily true. So it would start at the grassroots level because the society is such that the leaders do not want to accept. But if the general mass of people become educated, they themselves will not be able to tolerate such ungodly rulers, and they would demand a God-conscious person to rule who they would have faith in, because such a person will instruct them and guide them according to Krishna's will, and will organize society in that way. And they know if they do that, then the whole universe will restructure itself, because all the demigods will bless such a society and such persons with unlimited opulence. And this happens even for some reason this came to my mind, but there's a verse where it says, the goddess of fortune for such a chaste wife or who serves her husband diligently and they follow religious principles, such a house is blessed. So similarly, such a society which is based on godly principles is blessed. We don't have to endeavor outside of that, just like we don't have to endeavor outside of Krishna consciousness to develop good qualities. Just simply by accepting the principle of serving Krishna fully, then all good qualities are there. All the demigods agree to reside in such a person. Of course, that verse can be understood in different ways, because the demigods empower such a person with their good qualities. But another way that I heard this explained is that the demigods can't get enough of such a great soul association. They want to associate with such a person. So they agree to reside in the person's body also and lend them their good qualities. That's amazing. That the principle of accepting Krishna and serving him purely is so attractive that the whole universe becomes in your favor. All the demigods come towards your favor just because you have no self-interest. Akinchana, you want nothing to do with this world. You're simply interested in serving Krishna. So that's something to aspire for. And if we aim at that, then we don't have to worry about anything else. Whatever faults or lacking we may have will be retained by Krishna, as Krishna makes the point in Bhagavad Gita. Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jhanaf parupashate tesha nitya bhutamam yogakshema vahamyaham. He carries whatever we lack. And he may do it directly, or he may do it through his different potencies, because Krishna has unlimited potencies. Parasya Shakti Vividhaya Shriyate Swabhaviki Ghana Bhala Kriyacha. Krishna has unlimited potencies just by his will. They act as if automatically. So the Buddha has faith based on knowledge of God and his energies and how they work. And therefore, his mind is clearly fixed on the goal of life and fixed on following scriptures beyond his temporary, desires that he may have to go against Krishna's will. So we should have faith, and this faith we can give it to others by ourselves adopting these principles of Srimad Bhagavatam, understanding clearly, and we should want such godly rulers to run society who are very clearly attached to Srimad Bhagavatam. Not that they profess to be a devotee, but they're going against the principles of the scriptures. How can they be a ruler of society? We have to see what the scriptures actually say. What is a qualified ruler? And the qualified ruler says it's a man, first of all. That's what it says, a Kshatriya, who is qualified to protect the sufferers with a sword, not fearful coward, ready to fight at the head, ready to die for his prajas. And that a principle, and he expects that from others as well. Anyone who else who's in a position of authority, the king would rule, but he would also have other administrators, and they would also rule with that same principle, ready to die and sacrifice for others. That principle must be there, inculcated, and is inculcated from the very beginning life when one enters the Gurukul and is not living his life for himself, he's living the life for his guru. He enters the Brahmacharya ashram and your life is no longer for you, it's in the ashram of the guru. And you're sacrificing for his mission. And his mission is ultimately to please Krishna, to satisfy Krishna thoroughly in every regard. Because it's not just to satisfy Krishna a little bit in a general or vague way, but very clearly understands what Krishna wants. And therefore, the path is clear for us if we follow such rulers. We don't have to be confused of what we're going to do with our life. But if unfit rulers don't know how to lead, they don't know how to guide others. They have no vision for how society should be structured. But a real leader has a clear vision for his mission and how society should be run. And such leader, naturally people would want to follow, actually. But if things are very unclear, people lose faith. And they should have this dharma of curbing irreligious tendencies. Not that everything is okay, it's all the same, and everybody can just do whatever they want. It's impossible to live under such society or structure which allows irreligious activities. No religious person, no God-conscious person will be happy in such circumstance. Therefore, there's so many verses in the scriptures stating this, that to protect, Krishna comes to protect his devotees and annihilate the miscreants and reestablish religious principles. Because when unruly people or irreligious people are around, then the real devotees are actually disturbed. It's not the same. It's not that what they're doing is okay and we'll live our life and they live their life. No, the actual devotee is disturbed because it's disturbing their devotion, but it's also their concern for others' welfare, eternal welfare. Not that whatever everybody does is fine and let everybody live their own life. Who cares? We cannot. Real religion, by its very nature, kicks out irreligion. And that's what Bhagavatam is. And the Bhagavata, which is non-different from Bhagavata, also does that by his own action. So the real Bhagavatam makes things clear for us so that we have proper shelter and we know how to live our life and make decisions accordingly. So let us take shelter of Srimad Bhagavatam and the living Bhagavata who help us live life properly. So I'll stop there because I'm over time. Is there any questions or comments? Yes, Magadhara Prabhu.
Sometimes, like, you made a point about doing good, but it not being connected to Krishna. How it seems to me that sometimes it's kind of like a gray area. Like, somebody may come and they chant Hare Krishna, and they also want like a jacket. So is maintaining a favorable relationship with them by satisfying their need, their desire, having a loving exchange with them, is that based on Krishna, or is that actually Maya, and will that entangle us in karmic activity and actually take us to hell?
Well, the goal has to be fixed very clearly in every relationship or every encounter. Has to be based on us developing our love for Krishna. I mean, if it's not that, then it's mundane. And whatever activity you do, if it's not in relation to that, that's the reason our interaction is happening. Just like Prabhupada said, yeah, distribute prasadam, but you have to tell them it's prasadam. You have to chant the holy name also. Not that you're just feeding people and not telling them, hey, like, you're supposed to serve Krishna with your life. Like, we're giving you this prasadam, but it's to purify you, it's to attract you to God. It's offered to him, to God, with love and devotion. It's not that we avoid Krishna, because not mentioning Krishna is another way of justifying that they don't need to do that. They can be okay without him, But that's just illusion. That's the illusion we're all doing. It's like, yeah, we can be okay without Krishna. We can, we don't need him. But if that is very clear, then, and everything you're doing is for that, it's connected to that goal, then in that sense, it's also Krishna conscious. But if it's not, and you don't want to talk about it, you don't want to mention, you want to avoid it, for whatever reason, although the atheists they're not avoiding saying that I'm an atheist, but we're so afraid of popping that point, making it clear, whatever it is. I wouldn't be upset with the bridge preaching if they made it clear, okay, Krishna is God, there is a God. Okay, you want to do yoga, but you got to make Krishna in there. Not that you avoid that, forever. So, anyways, that's a side point. But there's so many things that you can do and avoid Krishna and not bring him up. But there's so many things you can do if you add Krishna, actually. And you make that very clear.
So we have a magazine. It's called Krishna, the Reservoir of Pleasure.
Done.
And actually, I'm embarrassed to distribute it.
Why?
Because I feel like, if I give it out, then they're not going to be able to appreciate Krishna. And, maybe I have a lack of faith or something. I'm revealing my mind. I noticed this yesterday. I said, we have a massive quantity of Krishna
Have
magazines.
you read it?
I read some of it.
You should read it. Then you'll have faith. Man, that thing is so amazing. I've dropped it one time on book distribution, and someone found me and was like, this is the most amazing thing I ever read. Some person on this, random person. It's wow, this helped me so much. Thank you so much. So it's there's going to be always people who are envious. But it's if you're sober and you hold your ground, I mean, what's wrong with, we're not doing anything wrong. What do we have to hide? Krishna is for their best interest. If they try it, they would see. I mean, they try so many things. They entertain so many ideas, They're willing to listen to the Buddhists, to the Mayavadi, to that religion, this religion, that religion. Especially I find it even more hard to believe why people want to hide Krishna in this age, where there's so many ideas. This is the age of so-called liberalism, of everybody. Okay, then why can't we say, hey, this is what we are? Of course, we reject liberalism, so it's kind of a conundrum, because we'll come into their liberalism to tell them we actually don't agree with liberalism. It's not all the same. But so how would they compensate for that? They can't, because really it's just an excuse to reject God. Actually, say as long as you don't disagree with us, we're liberal. Let me turn off. Prabhu has a point.
I have a question in relation to the sufferers that the Kshatriyas are meant to protect.
Yeah.
So it seems to me that this day and age, my understanding is in the Vedic time, people weren't blatantly trying to enjoy material energy, at least to the extent that they are today. And it seems that the sufferers are those who are just trying to manipulate and enjoy material energy separate from Krishna. So this day and age, with people doing such, just blatantly trying to enjoy their senses apart from Krishna, it seems that even if there was a ruler who was God conscious, I don't understand what his role in trying to protect these people would be. Without the citizens, when the citizens are just trying to enjoy their senses, why would there be a qualified Kshatriya in place to protect them?
Yeah, so it's a good question. So first point is, this word sufferers has to be understood in context. So these are those who can they can suffer. They're not necessarily suffering, but they are subject or potentially can suffer. sufferers, one who can suffer. Who can suffer. So that's how it's being used. So those who can suffer or can be exploited by others, the king is supposed to protect them. Because they can suffer. Why? Because they're weak. So that's what is being used in this context. So, yeah, but okay, how do they suffer? If they don't agree to abide by Krishna's injunction and they want to enjoy unrestrictedly or sinfully, right? Anyways, they want to enjoy this way. You can't enjoy it by being sinful. I mean, you enjoy it if you're pious and you follow God's will. So, yeah, generally those who wanted to be sinful, they will be taken out of such a society, you know. There's still room for them, but just like you'll see, Kali will be given room. Even Kali will be given room in such a society where we all know later on, I'll save it for later, but where all these irreligious activities go on, but it's the same conundrum, under such a godly king, there is no such irreligious activities, right? So Kali is like, where am I going to hide then? Gold enters Kali. Where there's money, a religion can enter very quickly. And we see that. This is proof by direct evidence. We see that in Kali Yuga. As soon as you put money, people start compromising on truthfulness, austerity, cleanliness, mercy. Because money is the honey. Or sweeter than honey, right? Okay, so that's just one point. But yeah, this word sufferers, we have to understand it in context. So it's those who can suffer. Okay, any other last point? Hare Krishna, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, vancha kalpatarubhyascha, kripa sindhubhya eva cha, patitanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So I presume we have some groceries that need to be brought inside. So if devotees can kindly